For as long as I can remember, whenever some pre-existing media gets its own video game, usually it's only one of two things. Either good or nowhere near. But I never took the time to ask myself if there were any games like this that I viewed as just in between. So recently I began looking around for something to fit into this new criteria, and eventually stumbled across not only a forgotten memory of mine, but a game that to this day I feel indifferent about. This game being The Walking Dead: Survival Instinct. Oh yeah. If you search this game into YouTube, you're gonna find about, I'd say, 500 people saying this game sucks. The amount of criticism this game received upon release is worth bringing up. It felt as if nobody had anything positive to say about this game. Metacritic's ratings for this are genuinely fucking horrible. IGN gave it a score of 4.5, and believe it or not, the creator of the Walking Dead comics, Robert Kirkman, has pretty blatantly expressed his disliking towards this game. I was a bit taken aback. I recall playing this game in my youth, and I could have sworn it was not as bad as people are saying it is. I did not want to formulate my opinions based solely off of other people's input. I needed to play the game again to make sure it was really this bad. So I opened up Steam, searched in the game, and oh, no items match your query. Well, this is odd. It should be known that Survival Instinct was available on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC, and the Wii U. Now in 2013, this game would have been easy to get, play, and review, but in 2025, that's just not the case. This game is not backwards compatible. You'd be forced to play it on the console it was assigned to. So I thought, well, shit, guess I'll play it digitally. But apparently, this game got delisted from all digital app stores back in 2016. I just talked about this with Friday the 13th, the game. But unlike that game, I could not find a public statement for why this one had been delisted. People assume it must have been a mix of the horrible reception, Activision's expired licensing rights for The Walking Dead, or it very well could have had something to do with how Terminal Reality, the company that I don't know, developed this game, stopped existing as a corporate entity the same year this game was released. Clusterfuck would be an understatement. So the only way to play this game digitally is if you find someone on Steam that has it in their library and you beg them to family share the game to you, or you can go online and try to find somebody selling the Steam key for the game. That is, if you feel like spending $200, 10% off, today's my lucky day! Taking that into account, this game is kind of rare, as are most games with expired IP rights. Mortal Kombat 9, such a good game. They fucked it. Fucking Freddy Krueger, you piece of shit. Despite how good or bad the game I'm about to play might be, it still has some purpose to the backstory of one of the show's most popular characters, Daryl Dixon. A character that does not even exist in the original Walking Dead comics. The fact that he even has his own video game is pretty wild. What's even more wild is this game is widely considered to be a canonical entry that is a valid prequel to the Walking Dead television series. That just gives me one extra reason to cover it. Now this video is going to be very long. You know the drill, big plot summary followed by my thoughts. It's just the way I do things. So go ahead and lean back and... Oh, actually, before you lean back, hit the subscribe button. We're very close to 100k. Now go ahead and lean back, relax, and let me introduce to you the Walking Dead game everybody hates. The Walking Dead: Survival Instinct.
It had to be walking this way. You see it? Dixon, it comes at me. You watch where you shoot that thing, okay?
The game begins with us playing as a character only referred to as Dixon. You're currently hunting in the woods with two other people, Jess and a man named Buck. A very southern name. Jess and Buck are tracking closely behind a deer they've shot, having to rely on the trail of blood it left behind to figure out where it went. Walking through the clearing, Jess notices some of the blood on the rocks.
I think I see some blood. Is their blood always this black?
They think the blood could have came from the deer, but the color of it seems off, almost too dark. Going through the trees at the end of the trail leads you to Buck, who tells you to crouch down to keep quiet and not spook the deer up ahead. Sneaking our way up the trail, we eventually find the deer in a small clearing. A small blotch of blood around its neck confirms it's the one they shot earlier. Right as you raise your rifle to shoot it, you hear rushing back to see what has happened. In the literal 20 seconds you were away, you find out your friend Buck is being eaten by 2 walkers. And due to Buck firing his rifle several times before going down, a horde of the undead emerges from the woods. You try your best to fight them off, but soon enough, you run out of ammo, and you are very quickly overwhelmed.
What in the hell, Dixon?
Jess, unable to take his eyes away from the horrific aftermath, gets bit on his right arm. Up until this point, I've been pretty vague as to who we've been playing as this whole time. You'd assume it would be Daryl or Merle, considering this character is referred to as Dixon, which is their surname. But whenever Jess calls Daryl over and he looks down at us, it's revealed who we were playing as.
Dad? Oh, Dad, no! We could...
Daryl, he's too busted up. Nothing can be done now except ease his suffering. Sorry, brother.
We were playing as Will Dixon, the father of Daryl and Merle, and the half-brother to Jess. Not too much is disclosed about him in this game, but just from watching the show, you can immediately tell Will was not the greatest father figure, his actions being the reason Daryl to this day has belt scars all across his back. Interestingly enough, despite Daryl's father being an abusive piece of shit, he still could not bring himself to put his own father down. The relationship between them two must have been extremely complicated. Although, Will's death was not entirely in vain. Jess and Daryl, the only survivors of the hunting trip, learned 2 things from this. Taking down the undead can only be done with head trauma, and that silence is what's gonna help them survive. The main reason Will died was because of how much noise was made. In order to not meet the same fate, we, the player, must utilize sneaking to ensure our survival. Sometimes. After this point, the game introduces us to both melee attacks to better ensure being quiet, and restorative items, such as sports drinks and MREs that can be found in every location. If you start running low on stamina, one swig of the sports drink will refill it all the way up, and also heals you a little bit, while MRE just heals you a bit more. Taking a look around the cabin, you can tell that it is far from luxurious. It becomes very apparent whenever you see a lawn chair indoors. Leaving your room, Jess wants to discuss a plan. While talking, he indirectly states that this is their first time encounter with the undead.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
If you told me about it, I'd call you a liar.
That just adds to the weight of that situation. That is horrifying. Daryl is clearly still pissed about his dad's death and wants to head out there and kill every last one of the walkers. Jess, being Will's half-brother, he's obviously upset too, but he tells Daryl it's much more simple to just gather up as many supplies as they can and leave. Daryl is tasked with collecting 3 cans of fuel for the trip ahead and meeting Jess back at his truck. Sounds simple enough. You're also given this hammer and this little collectible squirrel statue. A bunch of walkers are heard trying to get in through the front door, so you're forced to exit out the back door. Getting outside, Daryl spots an unsuspecting walker. The game tells us that we can perform an execution, which can be done by pressing whatever button you hotkeyed it to while right up behind a walker. This is what it looks like whenever you succeed.
Down.
And this is what it looks like whenever you fuck it up several times. This way of dealing with them is silent and brings no attention to you at all. The only downside being that you have to be right up on a walker for it to work. Getting introduced to the other combat of this game is nothing special. You slice or bash in the head of a walker until they collapse. If you hold the melee swing for longer, the hit is heavier, but it takes longer to deploy. If you miss that heavy swing, you're gonna be in trouble. And occasionally, you can shoot whatever firearm you pick up if you want a faster result. You just have to hit headshots. If you hit him in the body, that's not gonna do anything. The drawback, of course, being that you're gonna draw as much attention to you as possible. There's a couple more things about combat that get revealed later on, but as of right now, the whole swinging and shooting, it's pretty simple. After collecting 2 fuel cans and going towards the third one, the game shows you a way of distracting walkers using glass bottles or flares. It's a cool idea, but I'm letting you know right now, this is the only time in the game I used that mechanic. You grab the final fuel can and make a mad dash back to the truck. You safely get inside and begin your journey down the road. Once we get in the truck, we are introduced to the travel map. Each time you finish a mission, you're given the option to select both a road type and sometimes even a destination. More on that later. You're given the option of highways, which use little fuel, but your car has a higher chance of breaking down and needing a repair, and a very low chance of stopping for supplies. While back roads use up more fuel, but you have a lesser chance of breaking down, and you stop more often for supplies along the way. Taking the streets is a happy medium of the both. The destination is named Sedalia, a little area where hunters would usually gather up on supplies before heading into the mountains. During the drive there, Daryl and Jess talk about many different things, namely going to find Daryl's brother, Merle.
We gotta go get Merle.
Merle, he's just not right.
What you say to me, old man? Merle's 10 times the man you are.
All right. Just seems you boys turn hay into shit when you're together.
Arriving in Sedalia, you're introduced to the travel hub. Before each and every mission, you have 2 things you can do beforehand. Either load up anything you don't need into your vehicle for storage, or give any survivors in your party something to scavenge for, such as ammo, food, or fuel, alongside giving them a weapon to help. If the survivors return from the scavenge and are injured, you can use available MREs to heal them up, at the cost of sparing your own healing supplies. To best manage your survivors, there is a stat bar at the bottom which tells you how risky each scavenge is. Looking at Sedalia, it seems to be in complete disaster. Jess and Daryl were gonna stop here for more fuel anyways, but it looks like that might not even be an option. He tells you if there's any left, it will be at Lucky's, the gas station across the way. You make your way past the streets, through a pharmacy with its power cut, and make your way into a fenced off section behind the store. Just as you're about to move on, you hear a voice call out from the rooftop. Climbing the ladder, you meet Jimmy Blake, who besides a deputy who has locked himself in a cellar across town, is the last surviving police officer in Sedalia. The only other person he knows for sure is alive is a man in the gas station across the street. Blake needs new batteries for his radio, and says if we find some, he will be on the lookout for any walkers and snipe them. Seems like a fair deal. Heading back down, I found a room that had a lead pipe and another squirrel collectible. This pipe kills walkers in 2 hits. It's quite nice. As you make your way to the gas station across the street, you're suddenly introduced to the most infamous mechanic about this game, the grapple. If you get too close to a walker, they can lunge at you and put you in this QTE, where you have to drag your cursor to their head and stab them. All the while, your screen is shaking and being thrown off target. However, the controversial aspect of this mechanic is that it can stack. Whenever you're done grappling with one walker, another one will pick up where the last one left off. You can already imagine if you get caught in a horde, this will be a big issue. But there is one thing about this mechanic people who hate it seem to miss. More on this after the base level plot summary of the game. You go to Lucky Les's gas station and find Warren, the nephew of the owner, Lucky Lester. He tells you he can get fuel for your car as long as you bring him with you and find the generator cage keys. He tells you Lester and his father went to search the trailer park across the way, and last he saw, Lester had the keys on him. So now it's our goal to find the keys, get the generators running, and have Warren punch in the code for the pump and fill up a fuel canister for our truck. Before doing that, I took a look inside the police station beside the trailer park, and Christ, all of the people in the holding cells are undead. And the only sign of there being cops here is a revolver on the desk. I searched through the whole police station, found a rifle, and the batteries for Blake. And then I ran into that cowardly deputy who locked himself in a cell. This guy still believes that he is guarding his post, as he tries to keep his weapons cache secure until a sheriff named Turner from Pemberton comes to relieve him, although he makes an interesting proposition. If we give him some food, he'll give us some ammo from the cache. If you go back to the store where we got grappled by that walker, there is a small food container hidden in the corner. Running back and giving the food to the deputy, we get a hilarious interaction.
Here you go, son. What do you say we keep this transaction just between us?
You sure you ain't coming with?
Oh, hell no. This is my post. Where am I gonna be safer?
Man, you don't have the key, do you?
Go on now, leave me to my duty.
What happens when you get hungry again?
You fucking moron. Leaving him behind, we go to the trailer park where Warren said his uncle would be, and we start decimating the walker population. You eventually find Lucky Lester, but it seems walkers found him before you could. You take him out and grab the generator keys from him. I make my way back to Warren, tell him I got the keys, and Daryl tells him in the most fucked up way that his dad and uncle are dead.
Are my dad and Uncle Lester behind you?
Just get the pumps on, okay, Warren?
Afterwards, you unlock the cage, kick on the generator, and hear Blake shouting from above.
Hey! You got it running!
It was here I realized that even though I grabbed those batteries for Jimmy Blake, I forgot to actually give them to him. So whenever walkers started spilling out onto the street, he was not covering me. Regardless, I had to fill up a fuel canister while making sure none of the walkers got the jump on me. You finish filling it up and a small crowd forms in the street. I almost got messed up here, but thankfully I fought out of it. Shortly afterwards, I was forced up a ladder and had to be on top of a tanker truck. And looking down, you can just see a ton of walkers reaching up trying to get you. As you look up, you see Jess signaling for you to run over to the truck. So, in one swift motion, you hop off the tanker and once again made a mad dash back to the truck before the mission ends.
And start the damn truck!
Whenever the mission finishes, a new screen pops up titled the camp screen. Here, I will have to manage whether I find a new vehicle, survivors, or sift through storage if there's too much in the car. With Warren now in our group, we can see his stats. Warren is stealthy, prefers blunt weapons, but is weak, so his health is a bit lower. This time on the travel map, you can choose the destination. Your choices are Garwater, which is described as a section of ranger and fire stations that promised security and protection, or Pemberton, where the sheriff that the deputy mentioned earlier operated things as a bunch of survivors flocked there. But unfortunately, that also caused a bunch of walkers to go there as well. I thought, screw it, let's be dangerous. Like mentioned before getting to Sedalia, Daryl's goal here is to get to Fontana and find his brother Merle. But as you're making your way over there, the truck begins to break down. Now, for the time being, the goal has switched to finding a new car. Daryl and Jess talk about finding some new wheels, and it's very obvious Jess is starting to look and feel a lot worse than he did earlier in the day. You already know how this is gonna go down, but the catch is, Daryl doesn't. Jess blatantly lies and says he's doing fine, like every old guy does for some fucking reason, and just says he's tired after a long day. Right as Daryl turns around to begin the mission, the first thing he says is,
Jess, where'd you go?
He completely lost track of where Jess had gone. You enter the largely abandoned police station in hopes of finding somebody, and eventually you hear a voice in the distance. You go to investigate and you find a lone sheriff still operating things. Sheriff John Turner. For days, he's been trying to direct orders and save his officers, but alas, most of them have either died or came back from the dead. He does initially lie to Daryl and tell him whoever was left would go and look for his Uncle Jess.
Looking for my Uncle Jess on a working ride.
Give me a description, I'll have my men keep an eye out.
Don't blow smoke up my ass. You ain't gonna look for him.
Son, I'm trying to keep what's left of an entire county alive. I can't leave here.
But does come around to striking up a deal with Daryl, saying that if he goes and checks the motel across the bridge and finds the deputies that he sent over there, they'll help Daryl find Jess, and Turner will give you one of his police cruisers. That being a pretty solid deal, Daryl tunes his radio to Turner's station and makes his way to the motel. Turner gets on the radio and tells you the only spot Jess could have gone is the motel across the way. As you make your way across the bridge and see the ever-forming crowd in the road, you kinda get the suspicion that the deputies didn't make it. Your suspicion is confirmed whenever you walk into one of the motel rooms and find the deputy Turner sent here. More importantly, his shotgun. A crawling zombie then bursts out of a vent, but it's pretty trivial to take him down. You keep searching around the motel trying to find Jess, but he's nowhere to be seen. With no other options, you head back to the police station, taking down some more walkers along the way, and break the news to Turner. He's devastated, but you can tell it's starting to have less of an effect on him, likely due to how often it's been happening the past few days. Although you did not find his deputies, he still held up his end of the deal, giving you the keys to one of the police cars. While doing this, he lets you know of a location called Palmetto Estates, that area being used by the military to evacuate citizens. He tells us he sent his daughter there and that it's in our best interest to go there too. As you're heading back to the entrance of the station, going to claim your new ride, you spot Jess.
Uncle Jess, where the hell you been, you old coot?
But it turns out Jess finally succumbed to the bite. A now reanimated Jess lunges at Daryl, and Daryl has to resort to stabbing his half-uncle right in the head. In the span of one day, Daryl has lost both his father and his half-uncle. He already learned a good bit of things from his father's passing, but now, with Jess gone, he learns one new thing. Getting bit will cause you to turn into one of them. The only piece of family he has left is his brother Merle, and with his new ride, that's exactly who he's going to find. The new vehicle we got can hold more survivors at the cost of having higher fuel consumption and having a few less slots for inventory storage. These stats vary widely for what model of car you find on your trip. Daryl heads down the road to a place called Fontana, another place trying to barricade to stop the walkers but eventually becomes overrun. Upon arriving, it is immediately apparent that somebody is camping out shooting at random stuff in the road. All this noise draws in this giant crowd of walkers in the streets. Though it does look a bit pessimistic, Daryl tries to still find his brother in Fontana. How does he know Merle's in Fontana? Well, before the outbreak, Merle was arrested and held here. So Daryl's taking a bit of a gamble, just assuming that his brother hasn't moved on. You make your way into a small diner across the way. While inside, you hear the voices of survivors. Not only that, but also 8 walkers. Since we're in a closed area, I thought, why not test out some of the firearms? Pretty badass, I'm not gonna lie. You go further into the kitchen area and find 2 people, one named Noah, and the other one goes by Scout, but her real name is Anna Turner, the sheriff's daughter.
Thanks, from both of us.
He bit?
Gunshot. Some crazy asshole is sniping at us. And car alarms. I dragged Noah in here, they followed.
Who's us? You two?
Got a whole team out there, or did. We scavenged supplies for the local survivor camps.
There's survivor camps?
Yeah. The military supplies some of them with weapons, meds. There's a big one at Cherokee Hills Sawmill. We were doing pretty well until that psycho sniper showed up and brought a whole mob of biters down on top of us. We got split up, pinned down, killed. I need to get my people together. One of my runners, Mia, is holed up in the theater across the street. Help her out and I'll make it worth your while. Trade you one of those. Lots of goodies in there, hillbilly.
You make your way over to the theater, narrowly avoiding the horde in the street, and search around for Mia. You eventually hear her in the distance just pleading for you not to shoot her. You run upstairs after her and meet her formally. Well, not really formally.
Get away from me, you asshole!
I ain't the asshole you're worried about.
Who are you then?
I'm a different one.
Say what you will about the game, the dialogue is pretty funny sometimes. You confirm to her that you are not the sniper whenever you both hear another shot outside. You tell Mia Scout sent you, and she tells you she thought that they had died because the shooter apparently fires at anything that moves, including survivors. Afterwards, she tells you that the theater below is where whoever was barricading this place was loading corpses. Great. And the exit is blocked, so you have to clear the path down below below to actually get out of here. I did that real quick, utilizing guns in a closed environment before clearing out the way and heading back to Scout and Noah. Although, whenever I entered the diner and back into the kitchen area, they're gone.
Ugh, you cheating, manipulative little bitch.
Daryl's clearly upset. Scout leaves a note explaining that Noah's injury had gotten worse to where they needed to find medical supplies, so they made a break for a hospital down the road. And unfortunately for Daryl, the survivor camps needed the supplies more than Daryl did. Although she did leave car keys for an even newer ride, but Daryl is still pissed about being essentially lied to for saving Mia. I headed into the meat locker and found one of the best melee weapons in the game, the machete. Take a look at this. That's awesome, dude. You make your way to the station that has holding cells and you try to find your brother. But you quickly realize one of two things. Merle is nowhere to be seen in his cell. And two, that sniper is camping out on the rooftop to this very building. Daryl starts to put two and two together as he makes his way up to the rooftop, and just then...
Oh no! Sneaking up, are we? No, no, no! You're never gonna take me back there!
Oh, come on, Merle. It's me, Merle.
What's lower than impersonating a man's long-lost baby brother? You're just trying to gain false entry. That's what you're doing.
Damn it, Merle. I'm just gonna leave you here.
Keep your pants on, sweetheart. I locked this place down pretty good. Them people locked me up for days in the dark with all them abominations. But looky who's just a little bit too smart for 'em.
Merle is doing the exact same thing that he does when we first see him in the Walking Dead show. Except this time, Merle is a drunken mess, under the assumption that the scavengers in the street are soldiers or cops coming to take him back into his cell. Like that's the most important thing going on right now. So he's the main reason that Scout's group got torn apart. He's been up there for so long that he is both sunburnt and running a very high fever. He then points at Daryl and says that he's going to a place called Jake's, and that's where Daryl's gonna take him. And without even asking why, Daryl agrees to do so. Once you retrieve Merle, the mission ends.
Let's go, you ape. Guess I gotta lug your thick ass back across town. Man, you must be running over 106.
My chair!
Yeah, it'll be here when you come back.
Mia joins your party and you're once again given the option to pick where you want to go. You can either go to one of the survivor camps mentioned by Scout, or the hospital that Scout and Noah went to. The goal here is to find medicine for Merle. Due to his extreme prolonged sun exposure, he's actually getting more symptoms than just a sunburn. Under that assumption, I chose to go to the hospital. It also seems that this hospital was getting military assistance whenever it was operational, so there could be some good supplies there. On the way to the hospital, we encounter one of the instances where we absolutely have to stop the car. The journey between your destinations can be broken up by many different things. Anything from optionally scavenging for supplies, moving cars out of the road to clear you a path, as opposed to taking a detour which would use more fuel, and the instance where you have to stop whenever your car has internal problems. In my instance, the battery on our new car just died, although a plethora of other things can happen to your car, like you needing coolant, running out of fuel, needing a new radiator hose. Pretty sure your tires can get fucked up too, but essentially the only way you can fix this is by going into this big scavenge map and finding the thing you need to replace. Taking the highways is the worst case scenario if you want to avoid breaking down, and that's the road type I've been using the most in this playthrough. But after solving that, on the drive there, Daryl breaks the news of what happened to both Jess and their dad.
Merle, man, I gotta tell you something. Something happened, bro.
I got it. Full-bore, flesh-eating apocalypse.
Yeah, but we were up at Jess's camp house when the eaters came down on us. We never heard anything about them. They tore us up. Jess and me, we were the only ones to get out.
Where's the old man?
He was up at the camp house too. He didn't make it, bro.
He's dead? The old man's dead? You let the abominations get him? Did he turn into one? Did you let that happen too?
No, We gave him mercy.
What'd he say? What did he say?
He said, tell Merle I'm proud of him. Merle?
What'd he really say?
I do appreciate how complex their feelings are about their horribly abusive father now being out of the picture. Merle doesn't know how to react except with anger and, dare I say, confusion. These two characters are very complex, and I'm glad to see more people noticing that over the years. They arrive at the hospital, and Merle starts immediately labeling off some medicine that he thinks he needs. Upon walking inside, I realize maybe this was the wrong location to pick. This is creepy as hell. Walking down the hall to your left, you hear a voice, and upon approaching, you recognize Noah. He seems a lot more energetic and active than the last time we saw him. He tells you that he and Scout split up as she went to the morgue to find medical supplies. Mind you, a morgue is a horrible place to be when the dead begin walking. Noah warns us about some military personnel still remaining in the hospital. You ask Noah for some antibiotics, but he doesn't have any on him. So we've just got to keep looking around. As we continue our way through the hospital, you cannot help but feel it is disturbingly quiet. The only thing that breaks this silence is Daryl and Merle talking on the radio.
Some light'd be nice.
What do you see?
What do you think I see? It's a fucking hospital.
But even then, usually by now you'd have ran into a walker. As you check off the bodies, there is zero sign of life anywhere. Dead patients and nurses are strewn all across the floor of this place, and the only real sounds you hear as you walk further into this place is an electrical hum and the sound of your own footsteps. All of this eeriness comes to a head whenever you enter one of the patient rooms and see somebody laying dead on an examination table. Except this person does not look like a walker. In fact, it looks like they just recently passed away. Right next to them, you see a bunch of files on a desk. They're not just normal patient files. They almost look like experimentation notes. It becomes painfully clear that something very odd is happening in this place. You eventually start seeing a few more walkers as you get closer to the cafeteria. Entering said cafeteria, Merle says,
Where can you get a poke and a smoke around here?
Damn it, Merle, you're gonna get me killed.
causing a ton of walkers to get up and start rushing you. I took a few hits here, but thankfully the machete is busted. Moving past the cafeteria, Daryl changes the channel on his radio so Merle can shut up and not almost get him killed. Daryl coincidentally ends up on the hospital's radio channel.
What the hell are you doing?
Changing the channel, you monkey.
Candace, just wait. Candace, it isn't a function of the central nervous system, but of the peripheral. Do you have samples? A working serum? That's why I stayed. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. You don't have it. I will. Lieutenant Groves is searching with his men as we speak.
Super cool detail here is that one of the voices in this exchange is Edwin Jenner's wife, Candace Jenner. To this day, I still wish that she had some screen time in the show. Well, other than that, of course. Basically, Candace is asking if there's any working serums or samples, and the other voice heavily implies that they're going to search the hospital for any survivors and forcefully run experiments on them, in hopes of finding a cure or serum to the virus, which explains the fate of that woman on the examination table. You keep progressing further into the hospital until you're interrupted by the sound of possibly hundreds of walkers banging down on one of the double doors in the hallway. You slowly walk past it, but right as you're about to make enough distance, that bitch breaks wide open. Right when this happens, you can hear military personnel on your radio say that they've spotted a woman, most likely Scout. As you're running away from the forming horde, you notice that the hospital looks rough, almost like the hall was set on fire sometime in the past, when suddenly one of the most unpredictable things ever happens, the whole fucking floor of the hospital collapses. Daryl falls through the floor and wakes up in a random room, and thus the horde following him instead redirected their attention to the soldiers remaining in the hospital, as you can hear someone on the radio saying they've encountered the infected. Shortly after, Daryl tells Merle that the person who was on the radio maybe can help them. Their goal is to find medicine after all, and if anyone's gonna know where they store it, it's most likely the people who operated this place before it all went to shit. You open the door to the main plaza, and I was met with a very difficult choice. The entrance to the hospital has black paint on it saying, "Don't open, dead." Nice reference to the show, but the issue is the door is being held shut with a fire axe. That is the only thing keeping that door from swinging inwards. One part of me says that I should...
Oh, yeah.
Relax, it's worth it, watch this. Eventually, you stumble upon where Noah said Scout was heading, the morgue. And upon entering, oh my god, there is zero way I could take them all down alone. So, I chose to sneak past. But regardless of that, by the time I cleared the room and got to the end of the hallway, a giant horde was waiting for me on the right turn. You quickly turn left and dash to the stairwell and just barely make it there in time before shutting the door behind you. You run up the stairs, walk down a long hallway, and make your way into a room where you meet that doctor you heard on the radio earlier. And it turns out, after searching the hospital, she did eventually find somebody to get a sample out of.
What in the hell?
These are desperate times. You need meds and I need a very fresh sample.
You're given a split choice decision, like it's a telltale game. You can either take the medication Merle needs from the doctor, or save Noah from being experimented on. Obviously, I saved Noah. I ran up to the room he was trapped in and cleared out all of the walkers that were about to get him.
Thank you, thank you, thank you! Woo! I owe you, dude. Big time. I gotta go find Scout.
You do that. Where's that bitch doctor?
She ran off while you were fighting.
She knew what was good for her then.
Hey, I found these before they caught me. It's not much.
That might work.
I think Noah gave us some medicine to help Merle, but I'm not sure, it's never brought up. So our last goal here is to leave this place. Stepping out of this room and going towards an exit, walkers are damn near making a blockade in the hallway, so I shoved past them, gunned down a few of them, and safely made it back to the car. With that out of the way, our next stop is that biker club Merle was talking about earlier, Jake's. But on the way there, a small issue arises down the road. There's this area called Lemon Hill. This place was holding a summer festival on the day of the outbreak. The festival was going to feature a fireworks show, so a ton of people showed up. But when the virus eventually reached this place, not only did the crowd draw more walkers in, but they also heavily added to the population of them too. This new giant herd of them looks like they're heading towards that biker club Merle wants to go to. So the two stop at Lemon Hill, hoping to cause a big enough distraction to deter this new horde from approaching the clubhouse. The game reiterates just how dangerous this area is. If you try to send out a group of survivors on this mission, it is a death sentence. The pure abundance of the walkers is just too much for them to handle, so it's best if you just leave them at the car.
I'll head left and circle back. You go right and then meet me in the middle.
So what are we looking for?
Anything that'll stop that parade of debtors reaching the bar.
Sneaking in this level is damn near obligatory. Even with your current weapons, the horde here could easily overpower you. As you quietly make your way into the gas station, Merle finds out the fact I told you earlier, that this place was prepped for a fireworks show. Daryl's idea is to take a bunch of bundles of fireworks, stuff them in the church across the town, and then
bang goes the dynamite!
Drawing enough attention away from the road and instead to that building. So that is your goal for this mission. Searching around the alleyways and rooftops for a few bundles of fireworks to stuff inside of the church. While doing this, you find another new car, but you still need to locate the keys for it. You end up quickly finding a few bundles of fireworks with ease as Merle and Daryl have a few conversations on the radio.
Merle, you think these walkers feel pain?
I hope they do.
You know I got your back. Hell, I'm the only man you could ever count on.
Yeah, I know.
You finish up finding the rest of the fireworks and luckily find the keys to that car. Unfortunately for you, to get to the church, you must make your way through a cemetery, which, just like the morgue, probably bottom 10 places you want to be in a zombie apocalypse. You make your way into the church and place all the fireworks in spots you knew would carry the flame nicely. But before actually setting it off, you need to draw attention. So you find your way to a ladder leading to the church bell. After pulling the rope and ringing it 3 times to draw in as many walkers as possible, you toss a flare into the room below, igniting all of the fireworks. You quickly escape down a ladder out back, backtrack through the cemetery, and are just in time to see what Merle was planning for his distraction.
Fire in the hole, time, girl!
It's not a competition, but I'm pretty sure his won. You make your way back to the car and the mission ends. Nice and short, unlike that fucking hospital. I take a look at the new car we found in this mission and it just seems to be a direct downgrade from what we currently have. It has medium consumption and the same stats in everything else, so I just stuck with our current car. With that out of the way, we can finally make our way to the biker bar.
Yes, sir. I've been looking forward to this every day for the last month.
Yeah? So what's the surprise, Merle?
What? Right. Wouldn't be a surprise now if I told you, right?
It's gonna be nothing if I have to pull over.
All right. Just trying to do something nice is all.
All right, I'm pulling over.
I kept something of yours. It's back at the bar with my hog.
What for?
Same reason I kept this wristband that Mama gave me, I suppose.
Whenever we arrive at the bar's location, Merle does something weird. Right as we begin the mission, Merle turns to Daryl and says,
Stay here.
What?
In a rare instance for Season 1 Daryl, he goes against Merle's word. As Daryl approaches Jake's bar, he notices bikes out front, confirming that at least some of this club is still here. But as you get closer to the entrance, you hear gunshots coming from inside.
Merle! What the hell?
Don't kill me, brother.
I ain't your brother.
It wasn't my idea to sell you out, I swear it.
Oh, I believe you, Ash. You're too damn chicken shit to cross me.
It's revealed to us that Merle was initially the leader of the Savage Sons Motorcycle Club, but before the outbreak, somebody in his group ratted him out to the cops for his drug-related activities. It's never explained why, but I assume Merle came here looking for an answer, and when he did not get one, his goal switched to killing everybody, taking back his stash, and then stealing all of their equipment. Daryl is understandably pissed, realizing that the only reason he had driven this far was for some petty revenge plot that, as it stands, does not really matter considering the world has gone to shit. But Merle, in response, gestures over to a crossbow on a man he had shot earlier.
Don't be that way. Look, I kept that crossbow of yours.
Man, you just don't get it, do you?
Uh-oh. Hey, Merle's here! Come on, grab all the shit! We gotta get to Merle before he can ride!
You wake up shortly after and realize that those 2 men stole every single one of your items, even the knife you start out with. Everything is gone. As you hear walkers begin banging on the entrance doors, you need to find a weapon quickly. You, luckily enough, locate a new knife, when suddenly the biker that had the crossbow on his back reanimates and gets the jump on you. After you deal with him, you are given the greatest weapon in the game, the crossbow. Not only do you have a silent firearm, but as long as you pick up the crossbow bolts after they are fired, you've pretty much got unlimited ammo. I can see why the man himself used it for so long in the show. You make your way through the walkers that break into the bar and follow the sound of more gunshots in the distance in hopes of finding Merle. As you get closer to the source of the gunfire, you hear it go from what initially sounded like a standoff to now frantic shooting accompanied by cries of agony. By the time you make it there, your suspicions are confirmed as you see all of the bikers, including the ones who robbed you, being eaten by the undead. Shortly after dealing with those walkers, you thankfully come across all of your supplies. But right as you go to pick them up, a bunch of walkers from 3 different directions run out and group up around the bikers' corpses. You try looking around a bit more to find Merle, but instead, you're met with a familiar face in need of assistance. Anna Turner, or Scout. She is on top of a delivery truck with 5 walkers reaching up to get her. You gun them all down, and Daryl has a one-sided, stern conversation with Scout about not giving him those supplies back at the diner.
Saved your ass at the diner? Do I look like your bitch?
Not in that outfit.
What? Oh, hell no.
Wait, oh, come on. I was only teasing.
Hey, where's that bag you promised me at the diner?
We haven't even gone on a date.
Got too much
What?
dip on your chip.
Give a girl a ride and we'll talk.
Let's go, before I change my mind.
Merle was nowhere to be found in Barksdale, so Daryl had to move on and hopefully find him somewhere down the road. Considering that stunt he pulled, Daryl probably feels a little bit less guilty driving off having not found him yet. You're once again given 2 options of where to go. Archer Creek, which is not only a really cool name, but is also a confederacy of survivors located at a dam facility. Or Laferty, a mall where when the outbreak first occurred, vaccinations were offered there. But as soon as more walkers showed up, it was a lost cause. I'm still gonna pick the more dangerous option. On the drive there, Anna formally introduces herself and explains to Daryl why she left the diner. It's pretty much a rephrasing of that note she left for Daryl. She then goes on to mention her father, that sheriff we met. She tells you that she did promise her dad to get to that evacuation site at Palmetto Estates, whereas John told her that he was gonna be getting together some of his deputies and would meet her along the way. But if you remember, John didn't exactly have any deputies left. They all died. We confirmed that for him. Yet for some reason, Daryl says,
That's the best plan I heard all week.
yeah, unfortunately, it does not matter which path you take. Daryl just does not speak up about things like this. He never once mentions to Scout that he had initially met her father. And I would have liked if the dialogue changed since we took the path to actually meet him, but whatever. You arrive at Laferty and can immediately tell people tried really hard to secure this place. In fact, in the distance, you can still hear that some of the military is active. The gate to the mall is blocked off, so you have to do this really weird puzzle where you push this car and then jump on the car and then jump on the boxes to hop over the fence. Once you make your way over, you see some military vehicles driving along the highway. You make your way into the mall and coincidentally meet up with none other than Noah.
I'm Noah, remember? I lost Scout at the hospital. I was hoping to catch up to her here.
Yeah, she's just outside.
Wow, really? You two running together?
For the time being, looks like.
Can't help but feel like if we went to Archer Creek, Noah would have died here waiting for Scout. Just then, you hear the sound of the military clearing out walkers outside.
Okay, here they come. What you wanted?
Just right. Hey, commence Operation Pied Piper. Full purge is in effect. Fire at will. Take down everything that moves.
With an order like that, the military has probably, or might still be, accidentally shooting civilians. So Noah tells Daryl to stick to the inside of the mall and hopefully run into those soldiers on the other side a lot more formally. Noah says he will tag along, which is great because he is one of the best survivors in the game. Shortly after this room, you find SUV keys, which is the only car you're gonna need from this point on. And you continue to make your way through the mall, or in my case, run like a bat out of hell because it's a mall and there's hundreds of walkers inside. I got to the exit and bolted back to the car, but alas, the military had already moved on. Daryl was not able to meet up with them to be extracted, and thus the mission ends. Probably one of the shortest missions in the game. The only place you can really head to is Polksville, a train yard where the military is routing supplies through.
You
spotted? They were supposed to check in.
Negative, Control. Circling the freight yard. Wait, there it is.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, there's a train. Smashed to hell. Off the rails. Looking for survivors.
What about the cargo? We need those munitions for the evac.
You hear that? Trainload of munitions dumped at the freight yard. What do you think now?
Yeah, I think we're gonna make a stop.
Scout, come in. Scout, you copy?
Daddy, I'm here. Where are you? Daddy, are you okay?
You might notice whenever John Turner tuned into the radio, he was sounding very ill. We get to the train yard, and right as we're about to go find that crashed train, Scout gets cold feet and decides to stay behind. It would have been cool to have a survivor tag alongside Daryl inside an actual mission, but whatever. Daryl makes his way to a ladder and scales down it to the train tracks below.
Ow! Fell on my damn walkie. There. Good as new. Scout. Hey, Scout.
Yup, good as new. You make your way through the rail yard, and you can see that there are a ton of walkers beneath the bridge entering the yard. Most likely being drawn here due to the loud-ass noise I assume a train makes whenever it fucking derails. As you continue walking, you cannot help but notice that there is some assault rifle ammo in some spots. Hoping for the best case scenario, you speed around through some of the boxcars and occasionally taking care of the undead. Eventually, you find a clearing, and sure enough, here is where all of the military supplies are on that derailed train. But just then, this happens.
Spotted a loud one. Can you initiate rescue?
Negative. Here comes the swarm. Poor bastard.
These people were so close to just dropping down and evacuating you, but the helicopter blades kicked up so much dirt and debris that it dislodged the gate keeping the swarm of walkers away under the bridge. This causes them to fly away, not willing to take the risk, and also gives you no time to pick up any of the military supplies. Right as hope is lost, you hear a voice on the radio.
Time to move, Durland.
You assume that he must have met up with Scout and took her radio and is now talking with you.
Try again, boy, but don't slow down. I'm waiting topside.
You cannot go back up that ladder that you fell down in the beginning. Merle guides you to a set of stairs that lead back up to your group. But once you make your way back up to your car, you see Scout, but no Merle.
No, I'm okay. Chopper kicked up some shit is all. Is a Merle up here?
No, just me. Your brother, Merle? You talked to him down there?
Yeah, on the walkie. He said...
That walkie? It's broken. Must have happened when you fell. It doesn't even have batteries.
That's right. Just like in Season 2, Episode 5 of The Walking Dead show, Daryl hallucinated his brother being there with him. This one's a lot less physical, I might add, but it's still noteworthy to me. Unfortunately for Daryl, Merle in reality is still out there somewhere. He's running out of time to possibly encounter him again, as the next stop on the map is Palmetto Estates. This place still has ongoing evacuation procedures, but namely, Scout is going here to reunite with her father. But Daryl notices that John Turner sounded really sick on the radio, implying that he got bit.
Seeing your father's a bad idea. Saying goodbye on the radio is the best thing to do.
When I was 7, I wanted a dog in the worst way. But, my dad has always had allergies real bad. One day, he came home with a brand new puppy and a grin ear to ear. Even though my dad hates needles, he got a shot every week for 14 years and never said one word. Daryl, I'm half the person he is, and he loves me twice as much as I deserve.
You're not gonna evacuate, are you?
He's my dad. What would you do in my place?
With that being put into perspective, saying goodbye over the radio to a father like that is non-negotiable. So once we got to Palmetto Estates and Scout saw that her father was there, she says one final goodbye to Daryl. As a parting gift and to show her gratitude for how much you've helped her, she tosses you this red bandana. John Turner looks up at you from the driver's side window with a gaze of familiarity. You see blood splashed on his face and hat that were not there before, and even though we don't see a bite mark on him, it's heavily implied that at some point, most likely when he was trying to leave Pemberton, he got bit, considering how much he was coughing on the radio and how the wildfire virus works, but it's never been confirmed if he did get bit. He drives away with Scout in his passenger seat, and to this day in the Walking Dead story, they are never heard from again. Although a cool little detail is, the bandana Scout gives to Daryl can actually be seen in Daryl's back pocket in the Walking Dead show, and he carries it for a long time too, though I can't confirm he still has it when he's in France. As you enter Palmetto Estates, you can see that walkers have filled the streets, and it almost looks hopeless. You'd think evacuation attempts would have ceased here due to how many walkers there are. You begin searching the houses in the neighborhood looking for survivors, and luckily enough, you find an elderly couple, a man named Terry Harrison and his wife. Another cool detail here is that these are the parents of Andrea and Amy. I don't blame you if you forgot about those characters. Terry tells you that he actually came here looking for his daughters but never found them. In the process though, his wife got bit on the ankle and she's showing signs of turning rather soon. He tells you a man by the name of Aiden is who we need to find, for he is in charge of signaling the evac choppers and is our best bet of being evacuated. He tells you that he's most likely at his house with his wife across the street. You have the option of going into a pharmacy up the way and giving Terry's wife something to ease her pain, but the wildfire virus has no cure and a bullet is a lot cheaper. I go to Aiden's house, but only his wife Jane is there. She tells you Aiden went to a mechanic shop nearby, and Daryl says a quote that I live by.
Nothing's ever easy.
You start searching around the town nearby, and eventually you spot Aiden on top of a pharmacy. That's weird. I thought Jane told us he was going to a mechanic shop.
You need to get a bag I dropped in the mechanic shop.
You've got to be Before this, he tells you that there is only one evac chopper left in this area, and time is running out. You meander your way to the mechanic shop to find and pick up his bag. I ran back up to Aiden, gave him his bag, and he told me to bring back his wife and Harrison. As I'm leaving, Aiden preemptively lights the flare. Right as I enter back into the neighborhood of Palmetto Estates, I see an evac helicopter fly past me in the sky. Next thing I know, I hear Aiden on the radio being taken by the evacuation chopper in protest.
They pulled me on, said they're leaving. Boom! So let me off!
Oh, son of a bitch.
And then you're given this weird choice that I didn't even know was a choice at the time, but I still chose something. There are a ton of walkers surrounding both Jane and Terry's house. You basically have to choose who to save of the two. I went to Jane's house and I heard Terry dying in the distance, and that's when I realized this was a split decision. But regardless, I saved Jane. When she asks where Aiden is, you tell her what happened with the chopper and she immediately knows where they're heading. Atlanta. More directly, the last known functioning evacuation site at Firesign Stadium. This place also acts as a refugee camp for survivors, so that's where Jane thinks they're taking Aiden. You quickly make your way to Firesign Stadium. In fact, it's so close I don't even think there's a possibility of breaking down here. But once you arrive, Daryl notices that something is wrong.
This ain't right. Something ain't right.
What? No! No! Daryl! Get to the gates!
Damn it! I should have known. They got in. They got the soldiers. They got everybody.
Evacuation procedures to continue as scheduled. Please register at entry points A and B.
The evacuation speakers keep playing a pre-recorded message as if the site isn't overrun. But as you start to doubt your chances of survival, you hear the sounds of helicopters taking off in the distance. Getting to the stadium is quite the distance to close, but thankfully our arsenal is upgraded one final time. A dead soldier near the entrance to the evac site is holding an assault rifle. He also conveniently had an ammo cache right next to where he died. What ensues next is what I can only describe as run and gun, except in my case, it's a lot more gun. You know, it really makes you think how the military got overrun as you rip your way through crowds of walkers you once could never even imagine of beating. You keep progressing your way through military tents, guardrails, areas where hundreds of survivors used to be and were so close to being evacuated. You make your way closer to the inside of the stadium when out of nowhere, this happens. Lore-accurate Daryl Dixon can survive a fucking helicopter falling on him. Daryl somehow survives this unscathed. You get back up on your feet and run to the stadium. And once you get there, you spot an active helicopter.
We're clear. Is she loaded? We are good to go, Control. Dr. Candace Jenner is aboard, and we are prepped to lift off. Roger and out, Control.
Wait! No!
If we were a minute sooner, we'd be sharing a seat with Candace Jenner, but we were just barely too late. Daryl desperately searches around for any signs of more helicopters as the lights to the stadium die out and it is now significantly darker. Eventually, Daryl finds a helicopter, well, technically two, and sure enough, all of our survivors are on this helicopter. But one final issue we need to resolve as he hears the helicopter having trouble fully taking off. We have to hold back the walkers for as long as we can until the pilot is able to correct the issue. As you're in the middle of your barrage, suddenly a military Humvee is seen barreling through the gates. The man driving this Humvee is none other than Merle. This time it's not a hallucination though. Daryl hops on the back of the Humvee's mounted gun and starts firing and shredding apart everything in sight. Propane tank explosions go off, walkers are flying all over the fucking place, and I can't help but grin ear to ear while I'm playing this section. After you mow down what I believe was about 100 walkers, the pilot is now clear for takeoff. But in a weird twist, Merle takes one look ahead and says,
"Hey, Junior! Change the plan! Get in here!"
Merle, come on, get in the helicopter, there's plenty of room.
Nah, I pass. This ain't a ride we want to take.
Prepare for dust storm. Hang on, people.
What the hell you think you're doing, huh? You dumb son of a bitch. Military doesn't give a shit about you no more. Could have been out of this mess forever.
Lucky for you, I got an eagle eye. It's this one. Didn't you see the bite on that whirlybird pilot? Hell, he was more than halfway turned already.
The pilot was bitten. All of the survivors we kept with us this whole time were on that chopper. And now, after everything we've gone through, more likely than not, they are dead. Realizing this, Daryl looks up at the chopper flying away. There is nothing in his power to stop this from happening. So, with no other actions to take, the best thing to do now is to join Merle in the Humvee.
You know I got your back. Hell, I'm the only man you could ever count on.
Yeah. The game ends with a reused voice line from a previous level. It's a pretty fast ending that I can't help but feel like something is missing, but regardless, that was an overview of the entire game, and most of the events that transpire in it. Now that that's over, I'm sure you're wondering what my thoughts are on the game as a whole now that I've played through the whole thing in one sitting. Do I believe this game is as bad as people say it is, or will I go against the grain? Before we start picking apart apart the game mechanics themselves, I'm gonna talk about the story aspects this game has to offer, which, unfortunately, isn't much. There are many opportunities for this game's story to be notable or even great, but it ultimately felt underwhelming. I understand this game is technically canonical to Daryl Dixon and his first initial days of the apocalypse, but there is a reason why the only real takeaway from this game is how Daryl's father died, how he met up with Merle, and then how he got to an evacuation site. Everything in between those events is super forgettable. What you learn story-wise in this game does not feel significant enough to warrant an entire game on it. Obviously, I went into more specifics when describing the events that take place in this game, but if I were to really condense the focal points into one summary, I for one would be shocked if it was longer than a page. It really does not help that everything we went through in this game is either not mentioned in the show or barely mentioned ever again. With that being said, there are a few details that are touched upon. Namely, one that's pretty in your face is where Daryl gets this saying from.
Sorry, brother.
Sorry, brother.
Other details include Anna Turner's bandana and this barely, like you could blink and you miss it, this line of dialogue between Rick and Daryl in The Walking Dead Onslaught.
You been to many evac sites?
Once, with Merle.
Referencing the evac site at the stadium. And what do you know? Onslaught's also canonical to the Walking Dead show. But even with these little specks of info connecting the games to the show, it still misses out on mentioning a ton of different things. Daryl rescuing Merle from the prison is never brought up in the show. Daryl doesn't mention to Andrea or Amy that he had met their parents in Palmetto Estates. Hell, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Daryl ever mentions Jess, his uncle. And although Scout's bandana is in the show, directly connecting the game and the television series, Daryl never has a dialogue explaining its origins with any opportunity to mention Scout, which almost makes me think that this game is silently retconned, which is a fascinating theory, but Onslaught came out in 2020. The game was also assisted by writers of the fucking show, and people say that Onslaught is canonical to the television series. So, considering that Daryl Dixon mentions the stadium evac site from Survival Instinct in Onslaught, it must mean that it still holds up to this day. Listen, I fucking hate retcons, okay? I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve. And considering how in recent times the Daryl Dixon spin-off show has been showing a lot of flashbacks to Daryl's youth, they have a golden opportunity to really tie in Survival Instinct and the show. That is if they want to keep it canon. Maybe in season 4 we'll see a flashback with Jess, I don't know. But moving on, looking back at the base game itself, it feels rushed. The whole game is primarily find Merle and get to an evac site, and I like those 2 points, but everything in the middle of those 2 events is primarily useless side missions or fetch quests that all end practically the same way. A mad dash back to your car or to an exit. Now, I'd be willing to overlook this if the combat was good. The combat of this game is very bare bones. Whenever you get into a one-on-one confrontation with a walker, 95% of the time, it's just you swinging your weapon at a maximum of 4 times and then they fall over. As much as I love the aspect of taking a hammer and then bashing in a walker's skull with it, you can only do this exact same thing a handful of times before it gets boring or stale. And if you try to spice it up by being stealthy, which is kind of like what the game prides itself on, you're gonna find a lot of difficulty. A lot of maps in this game are so linear that stealth is hardly an option, leading you back to that exact same repetitive combat. Or just saying fuck it and using a gun, which the guns are pretty fun in this game, I will admit. The melee is just a little bit less fun. And a really simple and easy out would have been have blunt weapons and bladed weapons do different things besides a bladed weapon just having the ability to cut off a walker's head if you swing it hard enough. The lead pipe and the machete, all in all, are essentially reskins of each other. There are not many differences in utility for the different weapons that you can get. I feel like more things can be capitalized on, yet they just never were. I've almost got this itching feeling that this game went through some last-minute changes right before it was released. Hell, after Will Dixon dies, that little intro credit sequence, there are some scenes where I shit you not, a mouse cursor is on the screen. I was playing the game and I was like, what the fuck, is my mouse suddenly on the screen? No, someone on the team screen recorded. Okay, I have to, talk with me here. What the fuck is going on? This isn't exclusive to the PC version either. The Xbox and the PS3 version also have a fucking mouse cursor just sitting there. Hilariously, the mouse moves at one point. So someone was sitting there watching the screen recording, saw the mouse cursor and went, nah, fuck it, leave it in. Something you might not have realized, because I tried with all my might to edit it out to make the game feel a little bit more serious in my coverage, was the jankiness of this game. The ragdoll physics can turn a badass scene into a fucking cartoon. Perfect example is like in the finale stage. I want you to watch this clip and tell me what seems out of place. I'm sorry, did I shoot that walker with a revolver or the thunder gun? This is not an isolated incident. Oh, it gets worse. If you play this game at a frame rate above 60 per second, Daryl will climb ladders in less than a second. I guess the function of the ladder is tied to either 30 FPS or 60 FPS. So if you exceed that, it doubles the speed of the animation. The game was not that well optimized. Okay, I understand I'm playing on hardware that didn't even exist as a concept whenever this game came out. And 120 FPS gaming was still kind of niche back in 2013, but this is still something I feel like pointing out. There are other things that are just core flaws of the game itself, rather it being just an optimization problem. Like how some parts of the maps are easy to break through and fall through the floor. Walkers often disappear or spawn when your back is turned. The walker AI gets caught on fences, doors, or just completely has a mind of its own. What in the hell? There are a ton of janky things going on in this game. And funny enough, I've got a theory as to why this game feels so rushed. I noticed the release date of this game was on March 19th, 2013. 5 days after this date, spoiler alert, Merle dies in Season 3 of The Walking Dead. Now mind you, it's just a speculation. It does make it seem like this game was rushed to beat that event. And even if that is not the case, the game sure does feel like it was. When it comes to this game's mechanics, I feel like the concepts of them were much better than they were in execution. I will not lie to you. Me personally, I like the idea of the traveling system. Having both car or terrain troubles alongside it giving you the option to scavenge for more supplies is realistic. Well, as realistic as a zombie apocalypse gets, I suppose. It gives the game a bit of variety if you choose to replay it. On one playthrough, you might be stopped by cars, while on another, you might need to get coolant for your car 3 times. And the scavenge locations are quite nice for gathering up on healing items that you would need before a big mission. But I will say a huge glaring downside I've noticed quite quickly during the travel segments is that the areas used for scavenging and car repairs are reused a lot. I can recall a time where I was stopped on one stretch of road 3 times, and each time the scavenging maps were the exact same location, despite being at separate and different parts of the road. And apparently it doesn't even matter if you're going down a different road. There will still be some times where you encounter damn near the same location. No matter how many times you change that fucking skybox, it's still gonna be the same map. Also, sometimes the names don't make sense. This level's called Forest. What? It's a mechanic shop next to a trailer park. What the fuck? All I'm trying to say here is, it gets tedious pretty fast seeing the same exact spot over and over and over again. Obviously, my suggestion to fix this would be to have more scavenge maps so the RNG could have a wider variety to pick from. And you know what, now that we're talking about scavenging, I don't really mind the survivor managing system either. I love the detail that certain areas in the game are more dangerous than others due to the densely populated area. However, in the same breath, I don't like how little supplies the survivors actually manage to get. Oftentimes, they'll bring back embarrassingly low amounts of supplies. If you send them out to get food and they come back with 1 MRE, they'll essentially have to eat it to heal back up and be sent back out for more in the future. The mechanic is not revolutionary. I feel like more could have been done with it to make it a crucial aspect of the game, when in reality it's more optional. Backtracking a little bit back to the traveling system, I thought it was a cool concept that there were different areas you could choose on the map. These alternate spots have unique weapons, survivors, and even slight alterations to the storyline. You can completely skip that section where Daryl hallucinates Merle on the radio if you initially go to Archer Creek instead of Laferty. Other things in the game that can actually change the storyline a little bit are those split decisions you are given. They're very rare to come by, but when they do happen, you can have a few different scenarios play out. Like back in the hospital, if you take the medicine instead of saving Noah and you meet up with him in the Laferty Mall, instead of being this dorky, friendly guy willing to stick by your side, he is the complete opposite.
Look, man. No,
Daryl, right?
I was in a tough spot there.
Yeah, I feel for you. Only I didn't die, did I?
God knows what that doctor did to him, but he's clearly bit and not doing well. He is so pissed off at Daryl that he actually tries to get him killed by screaming and causing a ruckus, leading a bunch of walkers to your location. In the process of doing this though, he gets ripped out of a window and eaten alive. There are things in this game you'd never know existed unless you played the game again. But I will not pull my punches when I say that some things are just not accounted for. Like I mentioned earlier, I met both John Turner and later ran into his daughter, Anna Turner. Despite me actively meeting Scout's dad, it feels like that doesn't matter, because Daryl does not once touch up on the fact that all his deputies are dead, in light of hearing that John was gonna round up all of his deputies and meet Scout at Palmetto Estates.
That's the best plan I heard all week.
No, it isn't! All of his fucking dudes are dead. Even when we see John again, he looks up at us like he recognizes us, regardless on if we met him or not. And then there's other things that mildly annoyed me, like how Daryl never once mentions to Scout that he met Noah while she was in the hospital. On top of that, if you end up getting Scout's main scavenge group to reunite, recruiting both Mia and Noah on your team, you'd think that would be a golden opportunity to get a unique cutscene or even dialogue. But no, nothing. I think it's just weirdly paced to be as ambiguous as possible, so continuity can't get fucked up if you chose a different path. I just can't help but feel like there are a ton of missed opportunities for more unique encounters in this game. With that being said, if you'd like to see the other locations I did not venture to in this video, I've made a playthrough where I stopped at all of those spots. Just head over to Wazer the Flower, my new channel, to take a look at that. I don't really have a niche over there, I post whenever and I do whatever. But anyway, back to the gameplay aspects. Another mechanic that I enjoy in concept is the most infamous one, the grapple. Now earlier, I said, but there is one thing about this mechanic people who hate it seem to miss. That little known thing is that whenever you've dealt with one walker and a new one lunges at you, you can actually intercept this by shoving them off. For years, people complained about this mechanic because they were under the assumption that each time you were grappled, it was a death sentence. But for some reason, nobody seems to mention that you can shove off the next walker, even though in the pop-up when it first happens, it directly says, before being grappled, world, you can shove a walker away and prevent it from attacking you. Sure, they absolutely could have explained this a bit more comprehensively, but come on, man. How do you miss that? Now, I know that if you're in a horde too big, despite shoving them away, it's still a horde of walkers, so you're still gonna die. And hell, you might even be re-grappled again considering how close they are. But my point is, nobody who covered this game, at least in my research, really mentions the fact that you can shove off a grappling walker whenever they're about to lunge at you. I will agree on the point that grappling gets super stale after a while. Although I don't really know exactly what to do to directly upgrade it, I think it would have been a cool idea if there was a variation for whenever Daryl is holding a gun, where you'd have to drag the barrel of the gun to the walker's head and fire. Or maybe a unique grappling animation for a crawler or one of the walkers that are sitting down pretending to be dead. Which brings me to my next point. There are a ton of times in this game where you're gonna see a walker sitting down and you're thinking, maybe he's dead. You go and check and he's still alive. Happens pretty frequently in the show, so it's kind of cool that it's being addressed in the game like this. And I'll be the first to admit, on a blind playthrough, whenever this happens, it can actually scare the fuck out of you. But the one downside that it has is, after a certain point in time, you can kind of tell which ones are going to get up. Every single walker that is faking being dead will sit in this exact pose. There's no variation to it, there's no uniqueness, and it gets to a point where you can tell from very far away that walker is not dead. Having a variation in sitting poses for the faking walkers would have fixed this problem, but an idea I propose is having walkers lay on their stomachs or their back, and once you walk over them, they grab your ankle or something. It kills two birds with one stone. Not only would it add a new variation for the grapple mechanic, because you'd have to like stab the walker grabbing your leg, but it also adds a new element of fear, because now you don't know for sure, like you have to look at the ground and make sure you meander your way around corpses, or just risk it. All I'm saying is, if I was playing this game and I walked past a dead walker and it grabbed my leg, that would genuinely startle me way more than those sudden grapples that happen in doorways. That shit was so annoying. Now on to the visuals. The graphics of this game, even in 2013, look dated. The Walking Dead Survival Instinct came out in the same year as The Last of Us, GTA 5, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I understand that the Walking Dead licensing must have cost a pretty penny, so corners were cut, evidently by bushes sticking through buildings and cars doing silly shit. If I did not know the release date of this game, I would have assumed it came out way earlier. And when it comes to more physical aspects of the game, like the walkers or the map layout, I could go on and on about little tidbits here and there, like how there's areas where walker corpses clip through the ground. Wooded areas are usually one tree model copy-pasted 100 times. A few locations in this game almost feel too linear. Assets are copied and pasted into different map locations. And possibly one of the weirdest points is that some survivors in this game have a reused face. Look at these two guys. Notice anything odd? What about these two? Are they the same person in different clothes? No, they're different survivors. They could not have made this any more damning that they cut corners in production. Upon release, they asked $50 for a rushed game that you could beat casually in a day or two. Absolutely not. If the game was $10, sure, that would be an acceptable price, but it definitely beats $200, that's for sure. Overall, the game has slight positives, but heavy negatives. Now, with that in mind, what are my final thoughts on this game? My take on the Walking Dead Survival Instinct is, it feels like a rushed game with some cool concepts, and I wholeheartedly believe that the only reason it was truly created was because the IP was super popular at the time, and a game surrounding the television series would have been a hell of a cash-in, so they went for it, and it backfired. But even with me saying that, I'm gonna keep it 100% honest with you. A touch-up to the mechanics, a few fixes to the base game alongside some graphical overhauls, and I don't think this is a bad game. Let me put it this way. I would rather beat this game 5 more times than play The Walking Dead Destinies once. Although I think that just goes to show how shitty The Walking Dead Destinies is. Is this game good? No. Okay, just as a statement, it's not a good game. But if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I had fun playing this game. Albeit, I didn't take it too seriously, and it's heavily relying on me really really liking The Walking Dead. The overall feel of this game is something special. And you know what? This game has solid replayability. A little bit of info I've been keeping from you until now is that once you beat this game and start up a new playthrough, you're given this screen here. Select a relic. Depending on the survivors that you ended up getting to the evac site, you'll unlock these little boosts that you can enable at the very start of your new playthrough. Boosts such as being able to sprint faster, have more efficient survivors, or start off with a crossbow and an assault rifle in the beginning of the game. The best part is if you unlock all of the relics, you'll get unlimited ammo. Now the game's real fun. Survival Instinct is a game I had fun playing. I understand that other people might find the game to be unplayable dog shit, and I acknowledge that from a base standpoint, this game is bad, which is why, personally, despite my experience, I cannot recommend a game that I know was executed poorly to the average games player. I'm easily entertained, but that does not cloud my judgment. There are several more zombie games out there that are way more worth your time and money. Although, I will say that if you are a fan of The Walking Dead, or even the zombie genre in general, you can try it. I understand this game may never cross your path due to how it's trapped on old-gen consoles, in somebody's Steam library, or in an expensive Steam key. But if you have access to this game, like maybe you spot it in an old bin at a yard sale or your buddy's house, you might as well give it a shot. But genuinely going out and buying this game nowadays, unless you're blinded by nostalgia, I would recommend against it. And there we have it. That was The Walking Dead game everybody hated. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave a like down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this game as well, if you ever had the chance to play it in your youth, or maybe even more recently. Remember to check out my new side channel, Wazer the Flower. Also, happy Halloween! I wanted this video to be out in August, or at latest September, but I don't know what the fuck happened. Anyways, it's been me, Wazerbite, and I will see all of you in the next video.